What's up, ladies and gentlemen? So today I'm going to be reviewing you guys Peter Jackson's King Kong. Now, Peter Jackson's King Kong is sort of a action movie and adventure movie where they, finally meet King Kong on Skull Island. Skull Island is originally revered as sort of a myth and legend to the islanders and the villagers on this island. And Darrow is kind of thrust in this sort of quest where she, goes from being sort of a vaudeville actress to being kind of lured in by Carl Denham's character in the film on the SS Venture, which eventually crashes into Skull Island. And then eventually she's taken via the villagers to meet King Kong. King Kong is this legendary godlike creature where the villagers sacrifice humans, mostly human females, to this beast. He's so revered that usually it's human females that are kind of taken away by Kong. But in this instance, the rescue team, played by Jack Black, Adrien Brody, as well as other cast and crew of characters, go to rescue her, and Darrow being played by Naomi Watts. And this is sort of a homage to the 1933 version of King Kong. The 1933 version of King Kong being the original before the 1976 version, which is what I was originally introduced to. I think this movie does a really fantastic job with sort of the visual effects of the film, as well as, maintaining the original story while, expanding upon it, adding more backstory and doing something new. This is one of those movies where the extended cut of the film, which Peter Jackson always does, is actually a lot better than the cut that we eventually get in the theatrical release. While I really did enjoy the theatrical release of King Kong, or Peter Jackson's King Kong, I thought that the extended cut was done way better. They add in scenes that you didn't see from the original movie, such as they added a Triceratops attack at the beginning of the film, which the Triceratops kind of attacks Jack Driscoll and Carl Denham's crew. Andy Serkis is one of the characters that's also sort of involved with this in the opening, and we don't really see his character that much within the rest of the movie. He plays the chef character that kind of works on the SS Venture, and he's a little bit skeptical of Jack Black's character, who is trying to kind of lure the team to Skull Island. Skull Island being this mythical place that people don't really know if it's legit or not. Once they finally make it to the island, I think a lot of them start to believe that this place is real, but they eventually see that there's something a little bit weird going on with like prehistoric creatures such as dinosaurs, like the Brontosaurus chase sequence at the beginning of the film, which is fantastically done, where you see the Brontosaurus kind of toppling over the crew as they're being chased by velociraptors. That leads into the scene where they're going searching for Anne, and you see all these different like prehistoric creatures in the jungle. You see a little bit more of Kong's lair, where Kong lives and stuff in this film. Kong taking Anne there, which is where Jack Driscoll eventually goes to rescue her. There's this really impressive fight sequence where Kong fights a couple of T-Rexes on a canyon, and eventually leads to Kong, toppling down into the canyon where there's a bunch of vines, and he gets caught up in that, and then Darrow falls off of Kong's hand as he's like holding her, and you see the T-Rexes kind of chasing after her, as well as Kong, as this huge fight sequence goes on, and Kong fighting kind of like a wrestler. You see the New York City sequence at the end where King Kong is trying to go after Anne. Darrow. He's trying to search for her in the city, and you got the military chasing after him, as well as Jack Driscoll and Naomi Watts trying to find him. This eventually leads to the biplane sequence where Peter Jackson has a significant cameo in the part, playing one of these gunners in the biplanes that is trying to shoot down King Kong. It's pretty impressive, that sequence, to see sort of Kong throwing biplanes and stuff at other biplanes, and you see the biplanes kind of splitting apart and pieces falling off and everything. There's also a really cool scene at the end of the movie where Carl Denham is trying to lure King Kong into the village so that they can throw these gas bombs at Kong and eventually make him go to sleep. I forget the actual name of the canisters, but they're the original canisters from the 1933 movie, and they trap King Kong using nets and stuff, and then King Kong escapes and just starts wrecking shit in the village, and eventually is captured and taken to New York City, where there's this giant stage show, and Kong kind of breaks free from that, which is kind of the case because every time they try and capture King Kong, he kind of escapes in these movies. I really like the set design of these movies. I really like the costume design for the film. I think whoever did the costume design for these characters really nailed the 1933 aesthetic, as well as kind of nailing sort of the set design for that period as well. This is also a period piece, while as the 1976 version was originally sort of not a period piece. The 1933 Peter Jackson remake is definitely one that takes place in a different time period than modern times. I really like the updated graphics. I like the updated version for King Kong. I like the updated story as well. I think this is sort of the definitive version of King Kong that, they would have done if they had the technology back then. Well, you don't get to see, a Brontosaurus eat people and stuff that wouldn't really happen with dinosaurs, like what happened in the 1933 version. This is definitely a version that I think that audiences will definitely appreciate for trying to pay homage and while adding new backstory. So that is why I'm going to give Peter Jackson's King Kong an A+. This movie is on Netflix right now, so if you want to catch it and watch the regular theatrical cut, you could do that. Otherwise, you could purchase the director's cut, which I have, and watch the extended cut, which I think is infinitely better than the theatrical version. But each cut is different, and each cut feels a little bit different from the other. And I really like this version of King Kong. I think this is really well made. So hats off to Weta Digital for making the visual effects of this movie, especially after they originally attached to do this before Lord of the Rings, but then Lord of the Rings came along, Peter Jackson did that, and the King Kong he was originally going to make didn't fall through, but then we eventually got this. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. Hats off to the entire team at Weta and Peter Jackson's crew and everything. I'm a huge Peter Jackson fan, so hope you guys like this review, and as always guys, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.